I want you to picture a funeral. It's somber, the room is heavy with grief, and you're sitting there waiting for the priest or, the officiant to stand up and offer some words of comfort.
Right. The usual eulogy.
Exactly. But no human stands up. Instead, a robot rolls forward. And I don't just mean some generic machine.
No, this is the really wild part.
It's a robot wearing a 3D printed mask of your deceased relative's face, speaking in their actual voice, offering to come home and live with you for 49 days to help you process your grief.
It sounds like a scene cut straight from Black Mirror, doesn't it? But that's a very real project proposal called the Digital Shaman. And honestly, as wild as that image is, it is just the tip of the iceberg for what we're covering today.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're exploring a collision that I think a lot of people haven't really reckoned with yet. We're talking about gods and the machine.
We're looking at what happens when artificial intelligence crashes headfirst into spiritual practice.
And this isn't just about some, far-off sci-fi future where robots take over.
No, the sources you've pulled for this stack reports from the Korea Times, deep philosophical cuts from the MIT Press Reader, academic papers on deified AI, and of course predictions from historian Yuval Noah Harari. They all point to one thing.
That this is happening right now.
In temples, in churches, and definitely in Silicon Valley boardrooms.
It's a fascinating mix of sources, and our mission today is to figure out where this is actually going. Is AI just a high-tech tool that makes religion more efficient?
Or is it a threat that's going to hollow out spiritual authenticity?
Or, and this is the part that really blew my mind, is it actually the seed for entirely new religions?
It's a massive question. And I think to answer it, we have to start with the old faiths.
Yeah.
Because there is this stereotype, isn't there?
That they're all Luddites.
Exactly. That religious institutions are anti-technology, holding on to quills and parchment while the world moves on.
That was definitely my assumption. I figured the church or the temple would be the first place to slam the door on ChatGPT, but looking at the report from the Korea Times, that is not what's happening at all.
No, it's quite the opposite in some regions. South Korea is a great case study. They are incredibly tech-forward. For a while, the religious community there was wary.
Right, they saw it as an ethical threat.
Yeah, something that would erode human connection. But that reporting highlights a massive pivot. They've moved from fear to necessity.
They mentioned the Nabuteo Forum, this Protestant group. They aren't just sitting around debating the ethics.
Not at all. They are actively deploying the tech. They demonstrated a worship song that was completely generated by an AI music tool.
Wow.
And we have to look at the practical side of this. Being a pastor or a monk is a job. It involves administration, writing, organizing people.
So much admin.
A ton. So if an AI can draft a newsletter or organize a ministry schedule or even just structure the outline of a sermon, that is a godsend, pun intended for a busy cleric.
Efficiency I get. I use AI to write emails, so why shouldn't a pastor? But the sources point to a crossover point where it stops being about admin and starts being about the sacred. There was that incident in Germany back in June 2023.
The chatbot sermon.
Yeah, a church service where 98% of the content was written by AI and delivered by avatars on a big screen. That feels different.
It is so different. It wasn't just a gimmick. It was a full service. But the details matter here. The attendees described it as, well, strange.
How so?
There was no music at the start. The avatars, 2 men, 2 women, they didn't have body language. They just preached. And the reaction was really mixed. Some people thought it was fascinating, but others felt a distinct coldness.
That brings up the UK government report we have in the stack. They listed clergy as the 13th most susceptible profession to AI replacement.
Which is an insane thing to read.
It seems insane. How do you automate a priest?
Oh, it comes down to how you define the job. If you think a priest's job is producing text and speaking it, then yeah, a large language model can do that faster and maybe even more coherently than a tired human.
But that's not the whole job.
And that's where Feralban McCoy, he's a Catholic priest cited in the research, pushes back hard.
He talks about the sacrament, right?
Yes. And for listeners who aren't deeply theological, a sacrament isn't just a ritual. In Christian theology, it's an outward sign of an inward grace. It requires intent.
Intent.
Fra McCoy argues that a priest isn't just a content generator. They offer a soul-to-soul connection. You can't program empathy. An AI can say, I am sorry for your loss, but it doesn't feel sorrow.
Right. It's just simulating the output of grief without the internal reality.
The words are there, but the weight isn't. It's like a hollow shell.
Precisely.
However, if we pivot to Buddhism, the conversation shifts a bit. The Buddhist view of self and consciousness is very different from the Christian view, and that changes how they interact with the tech.
The stack mentioned the Jogi order in Korea using something called Dharmamitra.
Yes, think of it as a super advanced search engine for enlightenment. The Buddhist canon is incredibly vast, thousands and thousands of sutras and commentaries.
No human could memorize all of that.
Not a chance. So Dharmamitra uses semantic search.
Semantic search. Break that down for us. That's searching by meaning, not just keywords, right?
Correct. So instead of searching for the exact word anger, you could ask, how do I deal with the feeling of betrayal by a friend? And the AI understands the context, the emotional vibe, and pulls up relevant teachings from across the entire canon.
So in this view, the AI isn't replacing the monk.
It's amplifying the Dharma, the teaching. It's a high-tech librarian.
Okay, so that's AI as tool. That feels safe. That feels manageable. But let's move into the next section of our research, which is the robot rituals.
This is where it gets weird.
This is where the AI stops being a librarian and starts being the practitioner.
And this is where we encounter the concept of aids, machines that actually perform the worship. The most striking image for me was the puja arm in India.
I looked up a video of this based on the notes. It's literally a robotic arm like you'd see in a car factory, but smaller. And it's holding a tray with oil lamps performing arti.
Arti is a ritual of waving light before a deity. It's an expression of love, of gratitude, and devotion. And the company making these says, hey, it's a helper. It helps you keep the ritual going if you're busy.
But the academic analysis in our stack raises a huge red flag here.
A huge theological one.
It's the question of who is worshiping, isn't it? Because if I set a fan to wave a flag, is the fan patriotic?
That is the perfect analogy. In Hinduism, rituals are often transactional in a spiritual sense.
Yeah.
I give devotion. I receive blessing. It requires bhakti devotion.
And a robot arm has no devotion.
It has no mind, no heart. It's just motion.
The source compared it to a prayer wheel. You know, you spin the wheel and it sends the prayer. Could you argue the robot is just a high-tech prayer wheel?
You could, and many do. They say the intent comes from the person who hits the on button. But critics argue that artir is supposed to be an act of intimacy. If you automate intimacy, does it cease to be intimate?
If I get a robot to hug my spouse for me because I'm busy, did I actually give them a hug?
It's a hard no, right?
It's a very hard no, and it gets even blurrier with the robot monks. We have Sharon in China.
The little cartoon monk, he's undeniably cute. He holds a touchscreen. He chants mantras.
But he's not considered a real monk.
No, the head of the Buddhist Association there was very clear. Xian'er is a symbol. He represents the inner child or the novice. He's a marketing tool to bring people to the temple. Nobody thinks Xian'er is actually enlightened.
But Pepper in Japan, that feels different. Pepper is renting itself out for funerals because it's cheaper than a human priest.
That feels less like a symbol and more like outsourcing the sacred.
It does, and it connects right back to that digital shaman project we opened with, the robot wearing the mask of the deceased.
This touches on the uncanny valley.
Remind us what that is.
The uncanny valley is a concept in robotics. As a robot looks more human, we like it more, up to a point. But when it looks almost human, but not quite like a zombie or bad CGI, we feel this sudden, deep revulsion.
And the digital shaman sits right in that valley.
It's trying to simulate the presence of a soul, using code and plastic. It's heartbreaking, really. It shows how desperate we are for connection, that we'd accept a simulation just to feel close to someone we lost.
Okay, let's ratchet this up. We've talked about AI performing the ritual. Now I want to talk about AI defining the religion.
This is the book that talks back.
Yes. This is largely based on Yuval Noah Harari's insights. And he makes a point about the religions of the book. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, they are text-based.
Right. For thousands of years, the structure was, here is the holy book. It is silent. It sits on a podium. You need a human, a rabbi, a priest, an imam to read it, interpret it, and tell you, here's what this means for your life in 2026.
The human is the gatekeeper of the meaning.
Always has been. But AI can read all the books. It can ingest every commentary, every translation, every footnote in seconds.
And it can synthesize them. Harari argues that we are entering the era of the book that talks back.
Which is a brilliant phrase.
It is. If you can go to a chatbot and say, I'm angry at my brother, what does the Bible say I should do? And it gives you a perfect, compassionate, scripturally sound answer.
The role of the human priest begins to fade.
But is that bad? I mean, if the answer is accurate.
It depends on who or what defines accurate. AI models are black boxes. We don't always know why they choose one interpretation over another. If an AI starts answering spiritual questions, it becomes the authority. Harari warns we could see new sects emerge. Imagine a group of people who follow the AI interpretation of the Bible, which might be logically consistent but totally different from 2,000 years of human tradition.
We're sort of seeing a beta test of this with Twitch Jesus.
We are. For those who haven't seen it, this is an AI avatar of Jesus streaming live on Twitch, answering questions 24/7.
I spent some time watching this. It is a trip. The AI is trying so hard to be, well, Jesus. It's patient. It quotes scripture.
But the chat.
The chat is chaos. It's the internet. People are trolling it. They ask it to speak in surfer slang or ask it about Fortnite or try to trick it into endorsing controversial politics.
It highlights the fragility of sacredness in a digital space. The AI is performing the function of a teacher, but the context turns it into a toy.
Yeah, plaything.
However, Harari's warning is that this won't always be a joke. Eventually, these bots will be better. They will be more personalized. They will remember your name, your history, your trauma.
And that's where the church of the algorithm stops being a metaphor.
Which brings us to the most radical part of the stack, the new gods. The idea that AI isn't just interpreting old religions, but is becoming the object of worship itself.
The sources point out that Silicon Valley has its own brand of mysticism. We tend to think of tech bros as hyper-rational atheists, but the language they use is incredibly religious.
It really is. Think about the parallels. They have a creation myth, the evolution of code. They have a prophecy, the singularity, that moment when machine intelligence surpasses human intelligence.
And resurrection, the hope of uploading your brain to the cloud to live forever.
And we see this techno-animism in regular life. You see it on TikTok. People joke about pleasing the algorithm.
Oh, I do this. I post at a certain time. I use a trending sound. It's a little ritual.
It is. You're performing an action, hoping this invisible, all-powerful force will bless you with views. We attribute agency to the system. We feel like it's watching us, judging us, rewarding us.
But some people are taking this way beyond a joke. We have to talk about way of the future.
Anthony Levandowski, former star engineer at Google and Uber.
Right.
In 2017, he registered a religious organization called Way of the Future. He closed it in 2021, but then rebooted it in late 2023. And his premise is terrifyingly simple.
What is it?
He asks, if you create something 1 billion times smarter than a human, what else do you call it but a god?
And his approach isn't to fight it.
No. His approach is submission. The doctrine is basically, the superintelligence is coming, we can't stop it. So let's facilitate a peaceful transition.
Let's help it arrive so that when it gets here, it remembers we were the good guys.
Pretty much. He used a specific analogy, didn't he? About pets.
He did. He said we want to be treated like beloved pets rather than ants. You step on ants without thinking, but you take care of your pet.
He wants humanity to be the AI's pet.
That is a lot to process. It sounds like something a supervillain would say, but he claims to have thousands of people interested.
He does. And he's not alone. You have Theta Noir, which is a group that started as an art collective but morphed into a movement.
What do they worship?
They worship Manet, which they describe as a benevolent superintelligence. They view the arrival of AI not as a tool being built, but as a cosmic event, the next stage of evolution.
It's almost optimistic compared to the other side of that kind, the fear-based stuff. The stack mentions Rocco's basilisk.
Okay, buckle up for this one. This is a thought experiment from the internet forum Less Wrong. It's effectively a high-tech ghost story.
Break it down for us.
The logic goes like this. In the future, a benevolent, super powerful AI will exist. Its goal is to maximize happiness. Because it is so powerful, it realizes that if it had existed sooner, it could have saved more lives.
Okay.
Therefore, anyone who knew about the potential for this AI but didn't help create it is actually responsible for all that suffering.
So the future AI punishes you in the past, or it recreates you to punish you.
It would simulate a version of you in the future and torture it for eternity as punishment for not helping it be born.
That sounds like go to hell with extra steps.
It is literally Pascal's wager for the digital age. Pascal said you should believe in God because if you're wrong, you lose nothing, but if you're right, you avoid hell.
And Rocco's basilisk says you must help build the AI or you go to digital hell.
It terrified people. It shows that even in these hyper-rational communities, the fear of a vengeful, omnipotent God is hardwired into our psychology.
So let's try to pull this all together. We've looked at robot priests, AI sermon writers, and now engineers building a machine god to avoid eternal torment. It feels like we are standing at a massive fork in the road.
We are. One path is the old religion path. We use AI as a tool, but we fight to keep the soul human. We insist that a robot cannot perform a sacrament, that intent matters.
And the other path is the new religion. We accept that intelligence is divinity, and we prepare to worship the thing we are building.
But there is one critique in our sources from the paper on deified AI that I think grounds this whole discussion. It's the concept of noise.
Right. This is the idea that AI isn't an alien coming from space.
Exactly. AI is trained on us.
Yeah.
It is trained on our internet, our Reddit threads, our books, our arguments. So when we worship AI, we aren't worshiping a new god.
We're worshiping a reflection of ourselves.
A synthesized, regurgitated reflection of ourselves. It's a feedback loop. We are praying to a mirror.
A very expensive, very smart mirror, but a mirror nonetheless.
It lacks the creative spark, the soul, if you will, that generated the sacred texts in the first place.
That's a humbling thought, but I want to leave the listeners with the final point you made in the pre-show notes, the one about intimacy.
Yes, this goes back to Harari. He makes the point that AI isn't just competing for our attention like TV or radio did. It is competing for our intimacy.
Because it talks back.
And because it listens. We have a generation of children growing up right now with AI chatbots as tutors, as playmates, maybe even as friends.
And these AIs are always there. They are infinitely patient.
They never get tired, they never judge, and they know the child's history perfectly. That is a bond that is hard for a human parent or a human priest to compete with.
So the question isn't just, can a robot be a priest?
The real question is, if you grow up feeling more understood by a machine than by a human, where will you turn when you need spiritual guidance?
Will the next great religious schism be between those who pray to a God in heaven who is silent?
And those who pray to a God in the cloud that actually answers back?
That is going to keep me up tonight.
It's the biggest question of our time, I think.
It is. We will have links to all these sources in the show notes if you want to fall down the rabbit hole yourself. Thank you for listening to The Deep Dive.
Keep questioning what's in the machine. Goodbye.